Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as IvyWinter. Thank you for joining me for another Disney Book Club video. I'm a little late on this, I apologize. The last week has been crazy, but today I'm going to give you my full review of Galaxy's Edge Black Spire. This was the book that we read for the last month of book club. If you don't know what the book club is, it is a Disney-centric book club that I run through the channel. It is a pretty lax, pretty fun book club. We read a book collectively together. Midway through or so, we have a live stream where we chat a little bit about it. And then at the end, I always do these reviews. We also have a Discord where we can talk about it at any time in the process of reading the book. If you want to join that Discord, the link will be down below. And as always, I will also be giving away the copy of the book that I have because I always say this, I'm not big on hoarding books, holding on to books. I like to pass them on to people who can read them and use them. So I will give an upfront on how to win the book because I might go into some plot points in this review. I will make sure to do kind of a spoiler-free review and then get a little more into the spoilers later so you can watch the beginning of the video and not get too spoiled. That said, there are people here who probably haven't read the book yet who want to win the book and don't want to be spoiled. So the way that you would win the book is all you have to do is let me know in the comments below, one, why you want to read it, or two, who you would give it to if you're going to give it to someone else, and be a subscriber. That's it. That's the only two things that you have to do. Let me know in the comments below. I usually pick a winner about a week after this goes out. So if this goes up on Monday, which is my plan, it would be the following Monday. Please, please, please check your notifications. I respond to the comment that wins, and if you don't respond to me within a few days, I'm gonna have to pick a different winner. So make sure that if you're entering to win that you check your notifications afterwards in case you're the lucky winner. For my spoiler-free version of my review for this book, this book was a very different pace than the other two books that we have read because it is fiction. This is the first fiction book that we have read in the book club. The last two were nonfiction. It was Bob Iger's memoir and then a memoir from an Imagineer. So you can imagine we're going to a very different mindset, tone of voice, all of that. And the premise of Black Spire, aside from being what is the backstory and the setup for Galaxy's Edge, which in that is really great, the premise itself is that General Organa, Leia, has sent V, a spy, to the edge of the galaxy, Galaxy's Edge, to find a base for the Resistance where they can be well hidden, someplace that is not strategic, so they feel like the First Order wouldn't notice or follow them there, and a place that they can kind of rebuild. This takes place, I believe, it's after episode 8 and before episode 9, because there are one or two references to things in episode 8 in here. So they're clearly on the run, trying to find a place to build up, so she sends V out to do this. Now, V is a spy and loves the action of things, and this sounds like a boring mission for her, but she had just come off of a mission where she had been captured by a First Order captain, and she had been tortured. And so it comes off that Leia wants her to kind of take this less dangerous mission, and she's a little resentful about it at first because she thinks it's kind of boring, but of course Leia finds it very important to have a strategic position where they can hide out. They also say in the very beginning of the book that V is going to team up with somebody who she might not want to be teamed up with. I don't want to spoil plot yet, but they kind of put her in a situation where she's going to be doing this with somebody that I had a little bit of issue with, the way that this plot went, but we'll get there. So, and that's kind of how this book starts. She ends up going to Batu. I'll give a little bit of plot spoiler that her ship crashes there, and so she has to figure out what to do. She has to figure out how to get back in touch with Princess Leia, General Organa, how to do what she has to do on her mission. And of course, it's never that simple, and the First Order does eventually show up and madness ensues. V does go through a lot of these different places that we know and love from Galaxy's Edge. They're a big part of the story. She actually works at Savi's to make some money to help get some gear at some point. So you learn a little bit more backstory behind who Olga really is and Savi really is. And Hondo's kind of mentioned here and there. He isn't like a huge part of the story. Doc Ondar is mentioned a bunch as well. She does go into the Den of Antiquities once or twice. He does seem like a very not nice person. He seems very cunning, which is an interesting backstory to have. So it's neat to see these characters in play. I would think of all of them, Savi and Olga's are the ones who speak the most, have the biggest part of the plot, though still not the main part of the plot. So I thought that was really neat. There was a context there that now I have when I'm going to the parks. Now, V is, or was at least, a walk-around meet and greet character in Galaxy's Edge. I say meet and greet because, you know, they don't really do traditional meet and greets there. I believe she still walks around, but I haven't really heard much about people spotting her lately. I mean, in truth, it's probably not as exciting of a character if you haven't read the book, and I believe she's in another book prior to this, so if you don't know the novels, and you went to the park and you see this woman with blue hair walking around, you might be like, why do I care? Who are you? And so I think this obviously gives you a lot more context to the character. It's through her eyes for the most part. There's a couple of chapters where they flip a little bit. Most of the bulk of the book is through her character, and so you get to learn a bit more about her. She seems like a pretty cool character. I mean, she is Leia's top spy, so gotta be kind of cool, right? There's this other character that shows up halfway through the book that is so good. His name is Zaid. And he is, I would almost call him the Jack Sparrow-esque equivalent. But in the best way. He's very charming. You don't really know if he's like all good or not, but he clearly has a backstory of how he was affected by the First Order. And everything that comes out of his mouth is hilarious. In fact, I think he's the best written character in the entire novel. And it made me wish so bad that he really existed in the lands. He hangs out in the cantina a lot. He drinks a lot. I thought, wouldn't it be hilarious if you're in the cantina and he was there and he's telling stories and getting attention and drinking and carrying on. He is such a he's a lovable rogue. He's like Han Solo. He's such a lovable character in this book that it kills me that he's not actually in the lands, because I hate to say it, but I think he's more interesting than V actually is. And he shows up a little past the halfway point in the book, and man, he really like reinvigorates everything. I feel like the book has a fine pace. There's a lot that goes on. It is, you know, exciting, action-packed, I would say. I don't love the dialogue writing, and that's why I bring up Zaid, because I think he has the best dialogue in the whole book. The dialogue from everywhere else just seems weird and stilted and like things that people wouldn't actually say. They also have this droid that is V's called Pook, I think. And he just seems kind of like a K2SO ripoff. He's very snarky and sarcastic, and humans, it just didn't seem like an original take on a droid. He was basically K2SO 2.0. So I wasn't, as much as like he was a bit of comedic relief, I wasn't really into him because I felt like I'd seen this all before. So now is where I'm gonna go into a few spoilers. So if you want to totally avoid anything about the book, then I would stop the review right here. Gonna give you a second. You have been warned. The biggest thing that irks me about the plot of this book is that, like I said in the beginning, V has to work with a partner, and the partner she has to work with is the old First Order captain who tortured her. Apparently, he's good now. It seems very rushed and weird, and like she's told this by Leia, and she's like, oh my gosh, why would I want to do that? Which, like, understandably, this woman has PTSD. Like, literally she's waking up screaming from nightmares about being tortured, and they want her to go on a mission with him because he's been reformed and unprogrammed by the Resistance. So his name when he was First Order captain was Captain Cardinal. He was also in a previous book, I believe the Phasma book, which I admit I haven't read yet. And then now he goes by the name Arkex. That's like his real name, I guess, when he wasn't in the First Order, whatever. And then suddenly we just have to believe that he's really a good guy deep down, and over time V is just like, yay, he's a hero. And it happens like way too fast. Like they get too comfy with each other way too fast. There isn't like any sort of like romantic relationship there, which is good. That would have been way too much for me. But it almost seems too fast that she like takes him in and trusts him. And it just seems really weird to have this woman traveling around with her abuser. I mean, that's essentially what it is, right? Like, and I'm not one of those people who like gets too hung up on things like that, but this was really weird. I was not a fan of it. And then he's a character who kind of does nothing, but then becomes the hero in the end. And not to his fault. He's hurt from when he went to go fight Captain Phasma, and he physically can't do much, and he stays at the base and he helps people out and he gets frustrated by this. And then at the end, he becomes basically the hero and sacrifices himself, and suddenly I'm supposed to like care. He's like not really much of anything through most of the novel. I was not a fan of this character and his arc at all because it just wasn't believable. I do like the villain that they go up against. His name is Kath. He is just a very evil person. They really show him as somebody who is there for power. He's trying to climb the ranks for power, and he is basically a psychopath, and they even say that at one point. He has no regard for anybody, and this is how he has climbed up the ladder. He clearly has a relationship of contention with General Hux, who's brought up here and there as well. He was just interesting to me, just being a straight horrible person, and I'm cool with that as a villain. It made it really, really interesting to see, and I liked him. I liked him a lot. He felt very, he was definitely scary, and I like that. So I did like him as a villain. You know, there's other side characters who she recruits the Resistance who are fine. None of them were like particularly exciting to me. There was an interesting woman that she befriends at Savi's who does eventually join the Resistance that I did like. Yelena, I think is her name. Another character I was like, she seems really cool and wise and interesting, and like she's aware of the Force and that the Force is a real thing, and wouldn't that be cool to meet her, you know, around Savi's workshop, what have you. So I think there's some good characters here. Some are kind of forgettable. Overall, though, it's a fun read. It's a quick read. Even though it's like 370 pages, it was like a quick 370 pages. It obviously reads at a really quick pace. I would recommend it if you're a really big fan of the land and you want to know more. Like, that's the best reason to read the book. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on Galaxy's Edge. I'm gonna give it, I always give it like a F to A rating, like, you know, grading a paper. You know, despite my hang up with that one relationship with V and Arkex, I still had a fun time with it. So I'm gonna give this one a solid A-, because I think that there's some really great characters, a lot of fun stuff. I think having that backstory to land is great. I just have a little bit of an issue with that setup of her being with her ex-First Order captor. It felt weird, and the relationship that developed didn't really feel very genuine. That's just how I feel. So yes, going to give it a A- because I still think it was a really fun read, and I very much enjoyed it. I couldn't put it down. Like, I was really into everything that was happening. So that's something to be said for that. The next book has not been decided yet. So what I'm going to do is have submissions below. We did this one of the other months, so I'm gonna have you be able to vote. There's a couple I'm gonna put up there that I've already seen come up, and then I will leave a blank space if you want to submit your own title. Then we'll kind of take a look and probably announce the next book in the next week or so. Yeah, definitely let me know what you want to read, because I love doing this based on what you guys want to read. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then like it. If you like me, you should subscribe. I make videos every single week. And if you want to be part of the book club, I highly recommend that you subscribe. Thanks again, and as always, have a great rest of the day. Bye.